Hello, my dears. Daniela here. I am with my Post with Purpose business partner, Danielle Pastula, and we are here for a very special Spa Social Beats episode where we're giving you bite-sized bits of information about social media today. And today we have a very, very important tip that is going to save you time, save you money, and that is choose one platform to master first. So if you are somebody that's like, oh my gosh, I need to be on Facebook and I need to be on Instagram, I need to be on Pinterest, I need to be on YouTube. And I'm hearing people talk about LinkedIn now and what's TikTok and all of these things. Don't stress. Like, you don't have to do all the things to be successful. So Danielle, if we have someone in spa who's really wanting to focus on social media, what do you think the biggest bang for your buck is?
Right now, and I think this will be the case through 2021, is Instagram. And Instagram's it's a proven platform in terms of you've got a wide swath of people who use it. So pretty much anyone who's listening to this, like your ideal client, is going to be on Instagram. No ifs, ands, or buts. With other platforms, like let's just say TikTok, for example, because that's kind of like the other hot, newer platform. That demographic's starting to grow, but it's not as much of a guarantee,
isn't it?
Yeah,
like really,
it's a lot. It skews a lot younger. It is starting to get a little older. A lot of people in like 30s and 40s jumped on during quarantine, but they have not necessarily stuck with it because it's just not as much of a platform that feels like a small community. It still feels very like there's a lot of discovery happening there. Mm-hmm. Instagram is a little more dialed in. It's been around for 10 years, but they're still innovating a lot. So it's got that unique blend of like, it's got a proven track record, but it's also a platform that has a lot of new features rolling out on a regular basis. And that's why people continue to be engaged in the platform. Unlike Facebook, which has dropped off quite a bit in activity and in engagement because they haven't introduced as many new things over on Facebook. And so Instagram for me is kind of like, if you're just starting out, or maybe you have a Facebook profile and you have an Instagram profile, but then you're wondering about TikTok, let's like steer back to what's going to be the biggest bang for your buck right now, which is Instagram. And once you've built up the consistency and the strategy there, you can then start branching off into other platforms and it doesn't feel as scattered because you are kind of working off that greater strategy on your one primary platform.
It's interesting because, you talked about Instagram rolling out all of these features and, Instagram started as these really beautiful curated photographs and you had all these filters. And that was the cool thing, is that you had the different filters and could make it look like beautiful.
Anyone can be a photographer.
Yeah. But then now you've got stories, you've got IGTV, you've got reels, you've got guides. There's all these different things that are coming out. I think what Facebook does really well is groups and lives, right? Yeah. There's Facebook Live, I think, is better than Insta Live. And there's no other platform that really has groups down like Facebook does. But I can tell you, like, I will watch Instagram stories. I never watch Facebook stories.
No.
Never. It's just doesn't seem.
Yeah. There's certain elements of the platforms that just don't. It's interesting. And I'm sure there's some psychological reason for that, but I haven't found a study on it yet. I'll let you know if I read one in the next quarter, because they always come out with those big industry reports in quarter 4 for what's going to be happening a year ahead. But it's just, I agree. I think Facebook has really dialed in the live streaming aspect and they've put a lot of attention there. And that's why it's gotten really big versus Instagram, I think by nature is much more of that snapshot type of content, which is why things like stories or now reels works really well on Instagram, because it started off as that platform of just visual, quick bite type content that people like because our attention spans just aren't very long. But Facebook is that place where if you are looking for that more in-depth discussion and the community, which is what Facebook really pushes, that's why things like live streaming and groups really thrive over there.
So starting off with Instagram as your primary platform, or where, let's say where you're going to spend 80% of your attention. Like, it's not like you can't have a Facebook page or you can't have a YouTube channel, but you want to really figure out your process with one platform where you're posting consistently, where you're maximizing the different sub-channels of that platform, utilizing the different platforms or utilizing the different sub-channels, because doesn't that help you increase your organic reach? Even though that's something that's going away and going away and going away, we still want to maximize. Like right now with Reels being a big thing, everyone is doing Reels because they're saying, oh, we get more organic reach with Reels than we do with other things, right? So really figuring out how do we have consistent content, which I know you've said is more important to post consistently than frequency, right?
Yes. Yeah.
So really figuring out, how do you create your Instagram content calendar that is consistent, that you can keep up with, that's not super great for 2 weeks and then you disappear for a week. Like figuring that out and having that dialed in before you decide to go in on another platform.
Yeah, because otherwise you're just going to be scattered and it's going to feel like you have to be in all these places at once, and it's just going to suck up all your time, versus if it's just kind of narrowed in on that one platform, that you have that set plan and you can build up that consistency. It's building a habit for yourself. And once you stick with that for a certain amount of time, it then becomes easier to branch out into other things because you're not feeling pulled in a bunch of different directions. And then you're going to start gaining traction on that platform by being consistent. And you're going to start reaping the rewards of that, which is only going to help with building your habit, because you're going to see that feedback loop start happening where you're like, oh, I'm getting rewarded for being consistent and sticking to one thing. And that's always good. Our brains like that.
So if you needed permission to just focus on one thing, you now have it. Don't feel like you have to do all the things. As entrepreneurs, you and I were just having this conversation before, but as entrepreneurs, we tend to be such impatient people. And when you start your business or when you start a process, you're like, oh, I just want this done yesterday. And, when we start with social media or we start with Facebook ads or whatever it is, we do it for a month and we're like, we want all the results in 1 month, but this is a long game. Just like everything that we do in business, it takes time to build up your profile. It takes time to understand your voice and your messaging and your visuals of your brand and all of those things. So give yourself the time and space, really dive into one platform, because I think what you'll find as well as you go on in business, each platform will have its own personality. Your Instagram is going to be one personality versus your Facebook or your LinkedIn. Even though it's the same brand, you're going to show up, a different side of yourself, just like we have, who we are when we show up at work versus who we are when we show up at family. We're all still the same person, but we just show different sides of ourselves in different platforms. So figure out who you are as a brand on Instagram. Get to know your process for creating content consistently. Do that where I would say at least 3 months of having it consistent before you switch to another platform. Prove to yourself that you can be consistent for a full quarter before saying, okay, I'm ready to let this well-oiled machine kind of run on its own, and I'm going to go to the next big thing. Very good. So if you enjoyed this episode, if you found value in this content, I would love to invite you to join Post with Purpose. It is our membership site for social media, all just for spas. We teach you how to create a month's worth of content in just a couple of hours. And we've got tons of in-depth trainings on everything you can think of relating to social media and spa. So we've got a special $7 for 7-day trial below this episode, and we hope we see you in the group.